So, welcome everyone to the Coding Cleverly podcast. I'm here with a special guest, Karim Saber. He's a software engineer at Indeed, and he has an amazing experience journey from him. He works and has a really great, rich experience with a lot of knowledge to share. So I welcome you to the show. Karim, how about introducing yourself and your journey?
Yeah, thanks, Faris. So I'm Kareem. I actually grew up in Chicago for a couple of years, like 7, 8 years. Then similar to you, I went to Pakistan after I was born here. So I got my citizenship and I left. I was in Pakistan for all of elementary, middle school, and I moved here into Houston when I was in high school. So for ninth grade before O levels. And then I went to Lee High School in Houston. It's like considered one of the worst high schools in Texas, just because it was an area, it's like a refugee camp almost where I used to live. There was a lot of people that were like foreigners and just came to America in Houston, so at Hillcroft. And so I went there and did pretty well because Pakistan, the education is usually a little bit more advanced compared to the US. Like not better necessarily, but just quicker, I guess. Um, and I went to UT after that. I signed up for to be an electrical engineer, and I was really bad at physics and math. I just signed up for it because my friend did, and then I became a software engineer because at UT they have the electrical and computer art combined. So you can't do you have to do one or the other when you join the major, but it's together when you start. And I became a software engineer because I didn't have an option because I couldn't do electrical.
Amazing, amazing.
Um,
That story kind of resonates with me as well. I've been in U.S. for elementary time. I remember we had to go back because my dad had a job in Lahore. He was working as a
yeah.
government servant. He had to complete his he recently retired last year. He's
Mhm.
60, but he's currently there in Lahore. We have a house. But
Oh, mashallah.
I was also like I didn't know that much. I used to be intelligent, but I try to act like I wasn't because that there was a time when people used to say, okay, there's a nerd in the class, he knows too much.
Yeah.
So, but when I went back to Pakistan, obviously over there everyone wants to just get straight A's and want to get the best grades. And Alhamdulillah, I was in the top of them. I managed to
Nice.
do
Nice.
my colleges over there and my university, which was in
Mhm.
software engineering. And then I went back, just like you, and I did an application, and now I'm here in Austin, which is the first time in
Mhm.
Texas. So it's kind of like resonating both of our experiences.
Oh, mashallah, that's better. Actually, I'm really curious because I have some family and I have some friends who have like a software engineering background from Pakistan. Did you have to like do any kind of like equivalency, or was it more so just you apply and they look at your skills?
So it was like, first of all, I know it's a formality, but having a bachelor's degree, a 4-year one, it's really good. So
Hmm.
that wasn't under my belt. Second, I had a sort of experience in, creating courses online. So
Hmm.
I was teaching programming online on different platforms like Fiverr,
Oh yeah.
Upwork, and then I
Hmm.
had a YouTube channel. And so that really helped me. I started contributing open source, and the more hours I put into this stuff, the better I was getting. And so when I was taking interviews, I was taking interviews in Pakistan as well as taking interviews in America. So online,
Hmm.
everything was being online. So I was saying, okay, I have like there's a story, there's a very famous movie, The Red Pill and the Blue Pill.
Yeah, yeah, Matrix.
The Matrix. And so I had the red pill and the blue pill. So I had either, have a job in Pakistan and live the rest of my life in Pakistan as a U.S. citizen, or I can
Mhm.
go to the U.S. And then, just see what goes from there because I can actually apply. I don't need work authorization like H-1Bs and authorizations, but I can just do
Yeah.
the interview and then, land a very entry level type of job and then see what goes from there. So that was my kind of story.
Interesting. So did you get your job before you came to the US?
So I actually had I did interview and then I had like 3 positions already confirmed.
Wow, badass.
And then I said, okay, my dad and mom, I think I'm confirmed now. I think I should just go. I will, the thing was that the one that was actually confirmed was like a corporate level was the FDM group, which I'm working currently
Hmm.
with. And they have a client which
Hmm.
is Charles Schwab. But the other companies, like suppose there was a Scale AI, which is an AI
Hmm.
agency. That was
Hmm.
like AI training. So that was also
Yeah,
a
yeah.
job which is not
Hmm.
like completely full time, but it was something that I was working on the side. So that was something. and there was another one which was Huron Consulting, and so I kind of chose the one that was more formal, which was a corporate level one. And so
Wow,
then
that's really cool. I think getting a job from Karachi to the US is I can imagine very difficult.
it's yeah,
Um,
yeah, the way we had to like convince and say like, we're in Pakistan, but that doesn't mean we're not.
like we're legit.
We're legit, yeah, we're citizens.
Yeah.
Here's our passport and stuff like that. So,
You bring it to the interview, you're like, look right there.
right, right. So, yeah, that was it. So, you tell me, how did you get interested into tech and software engineering in the very your stages?
So like I've always loved technology. You know, I didn't have internet until like 2012, 2013. Because like I was in Karachi and my parents didn't believe in the internet. But we had laptops, so I really liked tech. And what I would do is I also really enjoyed typing. So what I would do is I would get like books and I would just type them on my computer because I mean it's a computer with no internet. What else do you do, right?
Right.
I really enjoyed it. So you know I've always just really had I love video games. I love tech. I always found it really interesting. And I didn't know. I guess I never really thought about what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a lawyer. I did debate in high school. I did really well in debate in high school, generally speaking. And I always want to be a lawyer, but my dad said you can't be a lawyer because you have to lie, which not necessarily true, by the way. I'm
Right.
actually not sure. Okay, I'm not sure what exactly the stating there, but you know, my dad wasn't very happy about it, so I was like, okay, I guess I have to do something.
Yeah.
And then I just chose electrical engineering because my friend did it, and
Amazing.
you know, yeah. And then I realized I was horrible at it, and I was blessed because UT is the combined electrical computer program, so I went for software because it was my only option. Um, and then from there, I started liking it. That was really interesting. I enjoyed coding because, you know, after a certain point, I'm sure you experience this too. It clicks, you know, like you do it, and then suddenly, you know, when you're writing a for loop or a conditional, it's not like you're thinking like, oh, what do I write? It's like it makes sense. It's like a part of your thought process. It's kind of like you know, I think it's like absorbing it. You know, I think there's this thing called learning a language or absorbing a language, something I've been studying because I've been meaning to learn Turkish. And when you learn a language, you're constantly thinking about like the grammar rules and how you're supposed to say it. Versus when you absorb it, kind of like a baby absorbs a language, you just speak it. You don't know why it works, you just kind of do it. And I think there's a moment when you start coding where it kind of becomes a lot more natural when you do things. Um, and you know, ever since it clicked during you know, right before an exam in my sophomore year of college, yeah, I've loved it ever since.
I love that. I love that because, it kind of feels like sometimes you're just coding and it feels very like time of like a pattern or a puzzle you're solving. It feels like
Yeah.
sometimes you're playing a game or something. So,
Yeah, it's very entertaining. You know, I love making it clean. I love, you know, thinking about ways to. I read the book Clean Code, which I know a lot of engineers hate. Which I fair enough, they should hate it. There's a lot of things to hate about it. But the thing I do like about it that I took away from it is that, like, you know, writing code should be like, you know, it should be like a paragraph. You know, when you're reading it, it shouldn't be. It should be very easy to read, where it's like you're reading through a story of what's happening
mhm.
versus you have to like use the mental load to figure out what's happening.
Awesome, awesome.
Yeah.
Uh, we're talking about your day-to-day life. So, what does a typical
Yeah.
day look like for you as a software engineer at
Oh
Indeed?
man. Uh, So, you know, it depends. It depends. You know, I think generally speaking, so my team is in PST, and I am in CST. Most of my team is in PST. And depending on how late I sleep, I decide whether I'm a PST worker or a CST worker. And generally I'll try and be a CST worker. So I'll wake up at like 8:30, 8:45, and brush my teeth, wash my face, and I'll go to the office usually actually. So I work I'm fully remote, but my office is pretty close by. I like going there because we have food and also because I can't focus at home. My office is also my gaming room. So, you know, it's hard, like, you know what I'm talking right now, my computer's like right there. It's hard to look at all my gaming devices and be like, well, should I work? Should I game?
Yeah,
Especially if it's like a slower day. But generally, you know, I'll start my day around 9:30 at 10. You know, if it's like a PST day, if I'm like sleeping late, I'll go to the office and I don't have daily stand up. I have like bi-weekly stand up, so only two times a week, which I like better. You know, and that generally, you know, I'll have, you know, I'm sure, you know, like you have like tickets to work on. Um,
Jira
you know, you have like
tickets.
a backlog. Yeah, yeah, like Jira tickets. You got like generally I'll be replying to Slack messages from like the other night or the other day. And I'll be following up on like alerts and alarms if we have any.
Yeah,
And you know, I'll generally just be picking up where I left off on my tickets
yeah.
and picking up new tickets as necessary.
Awesome. That's similar to a lot of other companies in US.
Yeah.
They're kind of using it, Microsoft Teams, I believe so, for
Be
communication.
Slack, but yeah.
Similar to Slack or Discord also works the same, but that's more of gaming.
I've
Um,
never heard of a company that uses Discord. That would be interesting.
maybe Discord itself.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, you know, that's really interesting. I wonder if they do that.
yeah.
I wonder. Yeah, that'd be cool.
That actually could be cool. And you know, one of my questions was like, okay, what about Apple and what about these other companies? You know, it sparks curiosity because a lot of companies are using Microsoft Teams or Slack. But I
Yeah.
believe so they have their own internal products or anything like that.
They probably use Slack, I think, generally. Like even Amazon. So we had Chime. So when I was at before I was at Amazon, we had Amazon Chime, which was horrible, absolutely horrible.
Okay.
And even the video calling software was Chime. I think they still use that actually. But eventually, even they moved to Slack
Okay.
because it's like this is just horrible. I mean, why would anybody use this?
Right,
Uh,
right.
yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Um, how about coding to actually doing what is like how much coding do you actually do day to day compared to meetings and planning? Is it like 50-50 or is it like a balanced? What is it?
So for me, it's like I think Indeed, at least my team is pretty good about meetings. So we're like, I would say like maybe 25, 75, 75 coding, 25 meetings,
Hmm.
or 75 work, 25 meetings, where it's like, a lot of times, like I do a lot of design, since I'm like a senior software engineer, I do like a lot of design work,
Yeah.
a lot of architecture, and that takes up a lot of my time. But generally, meetings don't take up too much of my time. Like
Okay.
we have, I would say like meeting days where it's like Mondays and Thursdays, I would say we have like a decent amount of meetings.
Okay.
The rest of the days, it's like relatively like for my level. I know that as you go up the levels, it's a lot more meetings.
Yeah.
But generally, I do get a chance to code quite a bit. Honestly, a little bit more than I would like. But yeah, I code quite a bit.
Awesome, awesome. Um, career growth and getting into big tech. We're getting into another segment. So,
Yeah.
how did you land your job at Indeed? Like, what was the application or interview process like?
So, I think it's probably better to start at like where I got my first big tech job, which is Amazon. It's like an internship. And, I got really lucky. I think generally speaking, it's like, in my opinion, getting into any job, especially big tech, is 90% luck for the most part, right? So when I was in 2019, so my GPA in college for reference was like a 2.7. I had a very low GPA. And my friend Saad Najmi, he was at Microsoft. And I remember like before Amazon, I managed to land an internship at NXP. It's a random ass company. Um, and oh, was something else?
Yeah, just wanted to say mine was 3.06, so we're in the same boat. GPA was,
Yeah,
low
yeah.
as well.
Yeah, GPA. No, GPA is hard. I mean, GPA is bad. I would do the projects well, but the tests, man, I did so bad on the tests. So bad. I completely would completely do horribly. I had severe text anxiety. It was just so bad.
Okay.
But yeah, I got Amazon when I was a junior, and I really wanted Microsoft because I got really lucky where I begged and pleaded recruiters with my GPA, like please, 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 please give me a chance. And like I was like, before it was popular, I was like LinkedIn spamming them. Like I'd go and I had like a template, and I'd like message a bunch of them,
Exactly.
and I talked to a bunch of people. Yeah,
Do not
um,
shy off. Just keep
lots of marketing.
messaging everyone.
100%. No, I would do. I was completely shameless. I remember one time I got a message from a random recruiter. One of those random like "Happy birthday," because there's a couple of whatever. I was like, you have a good birthday gift at interview, and she didn't reply to me. So
I love that. I love
you
that.
know, for me, it's like, man, you got to be a little bit shameless, and
Yeah, man.
if you're shameless enough, it can be endearing. If you're not shameless enough, it's weird. You just got to push it right to endearing, but not to creepy.
Yeah.
Um,
Love that.
but yeah, so I got the interview somehow. Honestly, I think going to UT helped, and having an internship on my belt, I think helped.
Hmm.
Getting the interview at Amazon, it wasn't that one didn't involve begging. That one was just pure luck. I made it through the process. The first OA wasn't too bad. Generally speaking, I don't think they care about that much anyways. I got really lucky in the final round. So I had just come back from Umrah. So for those unfamiliar listening, Umrah is like pilgrimage. You cut off all your hair, you go bald, right? So I gone bald, and I had my interview, and I was like, man, this sucks. And I do not look good bald. I look horrible. I don't. I mean, it's very bad. It's very bad when I'm bald. And thankfully, my interviewer was also bald. And
He was
being
also
the
bald.
awkward, he's also bald.
I will
The
be
awkward
bald
teenager I was.
soon. I'm also
Guys,
going for Umrah, just to mention. I'm also going to be bald after a couple of weeks.
I don't know if you're gonna cut it all off. I don't think you have to. If I would do it again, I definitely wouldn't cut it all off. Generally speaking,
Okay.
especially because you don't have to.
So what
Uh,
happened was that the interview liked your explanations, and sometimes you just feel like you did worse, but the other guy said, "Bro, you did amazing, right?" And then,
for my interview, I think it's because I was bald, man. I'll be honest. I did not do well.
okay.
I told them, I was like, hey man, we're both bald. It's like I don't know if you've seen Curb Your Enthusiasm, but it's something called it's called bald privilege. It's like when you meet a bald guy and he's hiring you, he will hire you because it's like a unity thing. But
Okay.
no, generally I would say I think my interview question was something along the lines of like you're given a list of files and you got to organize them. And I just kind of threw a shot in there and said, oh, is it kind of like merge sort solution?
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, that's right. And then I made up. This guy didn't know Python. So I made up methods. I was like, oh, Python, I think has this kind of method. Is that okay? It's like, yeah, it's fine. So I like, I didn't know how to merge because I forgot.
Right.
And he was just okay with my answer. Yeah. And that's how I
Amazing.
got into Amazon.
Amazing. Does lead code help? And did you also prepare through that?
Yes and no. So before that, I was interviewing at Microsoft. This was in 2018, and it was really exciting because they flew me out. And getting flown out as a junior, as someone in college, like, oh my god, it's so crazy. And after that, I did a lot of legal prep, a lot of legal prep.
Awesome.
Um, it helped out during the interview process a lot because they basically asked me what was on their tag questions
Right.
for the most part. But unfortunately, I didn't get it because they threw a curveball at me with like a C question, because it was like a hardware engineering role.
Okay.
At Amazon, I think knowing like the general terminology, like I think the best, most helpful thing with lead code is there's like a flip by Sean for Sean. It's like basically lead code patterns. And it tells you like if there are keywords, like if it says the list is sorted, right? Chances are you have to use some kind of binary search.
Right.
It's just almost guaranteed. Or the time is logarithmic. If something is already sorted, generally speaking, time is logarithmic. Um, and those hints I think really help out. And even if you don't know the answer, you can just start saying things that are relatively related to the question, and the interviewer will probably help you out because they think you know what you're talking about.
Absolutely.
Like they're your friend, they want to help you out.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like one other thing is like sometimes the interview is kind of more tough than the actual job. So the actual job, they're
No
all
doubt.
working together. It's like a group effort. And when you're doing an interview, it's kind of like you're doing a war.
Are we allowed to curse this podcast?
You could if you want to. Yeah, it doesn't
The
matter.
interview process is bullshit. All right,
Yeah,
absolute bullshit. It is completely irrepresentative of what you would actually be doing at the job. I
100%.
have rarely encountered. So when I was interviewing for Indeed, I interviewed for a bunch of companies in 2022. The only company I would say I encountered that had an interview process that I feel was representative of work was, I think, it was Stripe.
Okay.
They have their lead code problems, their pair programming problems,
Okay.
and it's like you have a junior and you yourself are a senior, and you're kind of telling them how to help you with the code, and that to me makes sense. But otherwise, yeah, completely irrepresentative of the actual job.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Awesome. Are there any skills, projects, or habits that you think really make someone stand out? For a junior, anyone, what kind of skills that he should adopt, or what kind of habits should he make?
Man, things are weird right now, honestly. So, if you asked me a year ago, I would say having this one still applies, having a learning mindset,
Yeah.
being somebody who is, if you're talking about a junior, like new grad, right?
Yeah.
You have to be somebody who is very, very, like your ego is not there. You are
Okay.
there to learn. You understand that school has taught you, the school has given you the tools, but it's not taught you anything practically speaking. And at work, you're going to learn everything practical. So if you can share that during the interview, for me, that's extremely helpful.
Okay.
That one applies. I think probably moving forward, AI tools would be a good one.
Okay.
Because, for example, at my company, now they're requiring us to use AI tools. They're like, please use AI tools, right?
Okay.
It's something that I think will be very helpful for people to know at the back of their hand.
Amazing. Does it matter what college you go to? How important are side projects or internships?
Internships are extremely important. Unfortunately, internships are super important, I would say. It,
Hmm.
it really helps you get your foot in the door. It's really hard to get a full-time interview, at least back when I was in college,
Right.
if you don't have an internship under your belt. Referrals, of course, also help. If you don't have an internship, referrals, in my
Hmm.
opinion, are mandatory. Um, and side projects, they're good to talk about. I don't know if they'll get you the interview, but I think they'll be really good to talk about during your interview. I think that they'll definitely put you to the top of the list.
Awesome. It does bring us back when we were talking about the AI. I heard that Sam Altman is also giving ChatGPT Pro for the students, I guess, for free for the next
I didn't know that. It's
yeah, couple of
interesting.
months. Yeah, so that would be nice for all the students who are kind of getting their foot into the door for like a job or something, and they could use AI as much as they want. I believe, when I started my, bachelor's back in 2019, I remember how
Hmm.
hard it was to, find solutions to things,
Yeah.
especially when you used to get stuck. My first programming language, which I actually learned in college, was C++. But before that,
Hmm.
we were just learning theoretical C. So the thing is that I
Hmm.
remember once I had syntax or grammatical issues, I used to like go online and try to find a solution on Stack Overflow or any website like that. And I remember how long it used to take, especially for beginners. But
Hmm.
now since AI has, came in, maybe one thing is maybe that we already have the years of experience and we went through the tough times of sitting on our
Hmm.
laptops and computers and just not understanding what we're doing, and then that
Yeah.
kind of helped us too because when we look at AI we say, whoa, this is just all natural, but also AI is just like a shortcut to learning programming.
I go back and forth, right? Like, I guess, look, that's how I see it. That an AI, a good AI for sure, soon enough, or even now, can definitely replace a junior engineer, right? Like, when it comes to the work being done. But you need to still develop junior engineers because then how are you going to get a senior engineer, right? At some point, you need somebody that's a senior engineer,
Oh,
and my thing is that I think that it is important that the juniors. I feel like juniors will start performing at the senior level
right.
when they graduate college, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Like I think instead of people being expected, maybe I think maybe the expectation 15 years ago was to know how to write conditionals in Java, right?
Right.
When you start the job force. Then now it's like, oh, you need to know lead code really well, whatever. You need to be have some projects, right?
Right.
I think that bar now will be you have to be almost at the level of a senior engineer with you while using AI tools at the same time,
Right.
if that makes sense.
Absolutely, it does make sense. And that does tie back to my question where going to a college really matter, or does it really matter what type of college you go to or where you go to?
I think from my perspective, like as the interviewer, no, it doesn't matter at all. Like for me, if I'm interviewing you, I don't even care what college you went to. You could tell me you didn't go to college. It doesn't really matter. Um, because I mean, I'm interviewing you. I'm
Yeah.
not interviewing you based off your background. I'm interviewing you based off your resume, right? Your resume says you did this, or recruiter, do you have the skills we need? Yeah, it doesn't really matter if you went to college at all.
Right.
From my perspective.
Right.
Now, from the perspective of actually getting the interview, um, that's up to the ATS. I would say that generally, as far as I know, the ATS doesn't care about the school as much as it cares about skills.
Absolutely. And what is
I
ATS?
would say
Just for
master
those
networking,
people,
though.
just for those people who
Mhm.
don't know what ATS is, you can explain.
It's like the automated something system. I forgot. I think
I think
translation system. I'm not sure what it is.
automated
What is the
tracking
stands for?
system. I'm not sure.
Tracking system. Yes, thank you. I should know this because Indeed is like the thing it is the
Is it,
ATS.
that they kind of say make your resume ATS approved and stuff like that, right?
Oh, absolutely essential. That is like so essential because there's this resume black hole. Working at Indeed, I know that we get every single job. It's a ton of resumes. And the main problem we're trying to solve for job, the employers is that, helping them decide who to actually interview from that pile of resumes.
Right.
So it's really hard. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. What's one surprising thing about working at Indeed that people might not expect from your end?
Working at Indeed, the stocks you get are in Japanese yen. So Indeed's run by Recruit Holdings.
Okay.
It's a Japanese company. They own Fishbowl and Glassdoor as well. So, they're all in cahoots. And yeah, I was really surprised by the amount of Japanese coworkers I have. It's nice. It's cool. I can get Pokemon cards for cheap.
That's amazing. I mean, we're all Pokemon fans here as well. I started with Pokemon Coliseum on the GameCube. So,
Oh, that's amazing. No, I love Pokemon, bro. I don't play the games anymore, but my best memories are playing Pokemon Ruby when I was a kid in Pakistan, actually, on the
po
Game Boy. It was nice.
so it's funny that you were playing Pokemon Ruby and I was playing Pokemon Emerald back in the day. But how
Yeah.
did you actually go? Because I know in Pakistan it's not that common having a Nintendo and stuff like that. I remember how hard it
It
was.
wasn't, yeah. Yeah,
I
they don't like so for me it was not too bad because I came from America. Like I came from Chicago and I had my Game Boy. But it's really sad because my Game Boy got stolen right before it came to Pakistan.
No way.
Like it got stolen in America. I got when we were moving. I was so sad because it was like
I
nice
can
with
I
silver.
can imagine how tragic that incident was because we were small and video games are like the only thing that used to support us and I was a true gamer
Yeah, dude.
myself. Yeah.
My parents hated video games. I only, you know why I got that game? Because my uncle, who's a taxi driver, my dad's a taxi driver too, but my uncle's a taxi driver. Some woman left a Game Boy in the back of her car, so he just kept it. We're just stealing, by the way. But as a kid, I was like, oh my God, free Game Boy. I was
Yeah.
so excited.
Absolutely. I mean, that is something that resonates me with with my experience with gaming and stuff, and how hard it was to actually bring my Nintendo Wii as well as my GameCube to Pakistan and trying to turn it on in the electricity. I remember the voltage
Oh
was
man.
so much that I had to get my uncle's converter. They made a local
Yeah, yeah,
converter
yeah.
to try to get the voltage down, or else it would just like blow up or something.
Oh man, that's the Wii especially. That's special because I know the Wii was a box that was a really big deal. Whoever had it, I had like one friend who had it in like my whole school because it was like motion controls. I was like, holy shit,
Yeah, I
it's like
remember that.
motion. Yeah,
Yep.
love the
So,
Wii.
yeah, now let's go to like personal side hobbies and like your balance. So, outside of work, what are some of your
Yeah.
hobbies or passions?
Hobbies and passions. So I would say so I got married 2 years ago. So right now,
Congrats.
just being married has been taking. Thank you. I've been thinking about a lot of my time, surprisingly. But I generally I used to boulder a lot. Recently, I like exercise. Like I think it's fun. I love tech. So, I love, just working on tech. Like I have a server that I run for like different things. I play games, of course, love video games. I play a lot of board games with my friends. Um, and I love getting deals. So recently I've become a lease broker for rental for cars. Uh, and I haven't gotten paid yet. I've done it for free for a lot of people,
Oh
but
wow.
mostly because I keep doing it for families and friends. But I really enjoy finding deals and finding things out, well, like low key ways to get things for cheaper. It's fun.
All love doing, finding clearance deals and stuff like that. What about your like in terms like you were talking about your gaming? Is a gaming PC better or a video game console?
I think each serves its purpose. The gaming PC market has gotten absolutely ridiculous. I actually used to have a YouTube channel. Remember, one of my more popular videos was console versus PC. And what's it called? It was, my conclusion back then in 2013 or 14 was PC is better, which it was. Back then, I think when the Xbox, what was it? Xbox One and the PS4 came out,
Yeah,
the gaming PC was definitely a better deal. Just because, they were just so weak. Consoles
yeah,
were so weak for some reason. It's exceptionally weak. They had to release the pro versions, that never happened before.
yeah.
And but nowadays it's like the games are so expensive. They're so expensive. And if you want something that's easy, that's plug and play, they get a ton of games with, I would definitely recommend like getting a PlayStation or Xbox.
Yeah,
I personally, obviously, I have a PC. I love my PC. I have like a mini PC that's like this big, but it's
awesome.
like super stacked. It's super high specs or whatever. Um, and yeah, I think it's if you like tinkering though, 100% get a PC. If you just want to play games and like not worry about it, get an Xbox or PlayStation.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah,
What about
definitely.
yourself? What do you play?
So I kind of have a gaming laptop and a gaming PC now. And the
Nice,
funny thing
nice.
is, my brother actually brought this gaming PC from Pakistan, Lahore. I bought it from there.
Oh, really?
He brought it in the luggage and brought it here. So I'm kind of using
Is it
that same.
expensive there?
I bought it for around 2 to 3 lakh, which is I don't know. You
Because you're
can
like, don't tell me, don't tell me. $1,000.
kind of like that, kind of like that. So I didn't want to like invest into another one because I was start using that one, and I had a RTX 1050 Ti GPU. I had like
They charge $1,000 for that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how I got a 36,000 rupee RTX 1050 Ti. It was from a store, local store in Hafiz Center in Lahore. And
That's a horrible deal.
I don't know how, but I didn't know any of the rates or anything like that, but that's what I
Oh
got.
man,
And then there was like
they screwed you, bro.
I got an extension for RAM, so it was currently like what's it called? It was 32 GB RAM. So I thought in my old my old self, I used to think the more RAM I extend, the better it gets. But I guess the
Have you seen that
GPU.
video that's like download more RAM?
Yeah, I know those
Should be funny.
suspicious websites just like making you download random
Oh,
stuff to make your
there's one
PCs
video.
faster.
There's one video of this chubby white kid, and he's like at this Minecraft convention, and he's like, "How do I download more RAM?" And it's just funny. It's like a big thing. It's like, well, if you go online, people are like, "What RAM should I buy?" Everybody's like, "Oh, download more RAM." Like, bam.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move on to tech and future of engineering. So,
Mhm.
what's a tech trend you're really excited about? And do you think that's really promising in the future?
I'm not about anything, man. Shit's scary. It's like I don't know what's gonna happen. I think it's I feel like on one hand people are panicking. People aren't panicking enough, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Like I don't think it's gonna be like what Elon Musk is saying, where it's like, oh, everybody's gonna be replaced. No, I don't think it's gonna be like that.
yeah.
But I think that a lot of people are gonna get a lot more useless a lot quicker than they think.
Oh, okay.
Um, yeah, like I think, they're not gonna entirely replace the jobs. That's gonna take a while, I think. But like I think the expectations are gonna go up. It's gonna be more intense generally. There's gonna be more scrutiny, generally speaking. And I think they're gonna be expected to deliver a lot quicker with these tools. I think we still like the tools will only ever speed things up. I don't think they will necessarily replace people. I don't think so, at least.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
but I think, and then that says that if everybody's faster, do you need less people? And I don't think so. I think if everybody's faster, they're not gonna want less people. They're gonna just want them to do more things.
Yeah, I kind of remember that quote. They say a calculator didn't replace a mathematician, it just made the mathematician better. So
However, the car did replace the horse, and the horse is unemployed.
that's a nice point. So, how do you see software engineering heading in the next 5 years? I know this kind of is similar to that, but do you think it would be the same? Or, yeah, it would
No,
be
man.
easier, would be different?
To break into or to like just do.
It's like everything in general, I would say. Software engineering back in 15 years ago, and software engineering now, and software engineering 15 years afterwards, there will be difference.
I'm gonna say, I'm gonna say 5 years from now. I think the quality. of a junior engineer is going to be lower, in my opinion, when it comes to their understanding of the code, understanding of the systems. Only because like even now, if you look at software engineers, and I don't think it's necessary, but most people don't understand how like the interpreter works. Most people don't understand like how binary code works, machine code, etc. And that's not necessary. Just to be
Yeah,
clear, to be a software engineer,
right.
but it does help. I think it does, I think, create more ability. Now, I think that they'll be worse at a fundamental understanding, but I think that they will be very high producing people. So I think software engineers will be producing more, but I think it'll be slightly junkier, generally speaking. And what that'll result in, I'm not sure. I think we have a lot of junk code right now, anyways. But at the same time, we don't. Like, if you look at a lot of popular libraries, man, they're good. They're really good. Like they're, it's always so clean. They're good. Like Log4j and a lot of Java libraries. I expect a lot more junk libraries potentially.
Mm.
Maybe bugs. I think unexpected bugs. I expect to. I expect in the next 5 years we might have something weird happen with the bugs. Also, if we, nothing crazy happens in the world, who knows?
Awesome, awesome. Some fun rapid fire questions. What's your favorite programming language and why?
Java, I like object oriented, and I like how I can keep it I can make it extremely specific. It's verbose, but it's, easy to read.
What's the best language you recommend anyone starting out with?
Java. I think Java 8 specifically, only because, again, it's annoying, but I feel like it'll teach you a lot about typing. I think typing is very important as a software engineer. Helps you understand things.
Typecasting. The
Or
way
C.
the way
Yeah.
it's like double static, all these kind of stuff. You kind of understand everything. And if you're like using an interpreted languages like Python or JavaScript, you might not understand everything
Yeah.
under the hood.
I feel like it's a lot of fundamental, yeah.
Okay. Tabs or spaces, what do you normally use?
Have, without a doubt, I mean, why would I use spaces? There's like 4 dots versus three. I don't really understand. Like, I don't understand why would anybody would ever click that shit for five. I understand, you do tab and making four. It doesn't make any sense. It's like, to me, it's like, I don't know. I don't get it.
Yeah, I know some people like they do two spaces, instead of four spaces. But why are you wasting time, right?
It's like, you want to be efficient or you want to be right. I don't get it.
Yeah. Favorite tech gadget you can't live without?
Tech gadget. Hmm. Hard one. Because it has to be like it can't be like a controller, right? You're talking about like a gadget, like not like a phone or anything like that.
It could be anything. It just has to be an electronic.
I mean, a phone. I can live without it. It would be hard. Kind of hard to do anything, huh?
iPhone versus Samsung.
It's so funny that you said Samsung and not Android.
Yeah,
What's
you
it
could
called?
just say Android, whatever.
But I find fun, especially because I know in Pakistan, specifically, like Samsungs are like the flagship Androids, generally speaking. And then in the US, you could say maybe it's like a Pixel, generally speaking.
Right, right.
But yeah, I think iPhones. I hate iPhones. I have an iPhone. I hate it. I got it because I need to get married. And it's hard to get girl without an iPhone. I'm kidding. But no, I think in principle, Androids are better. Androids, they're open source. I love that they're open source. I love that you can flash images. I love that they allow you a lot more flexibility.
I love that thing about you because that's the same thing with me. I just recently converted to an iPhone 13 from an iPhone
Sorry, go.
Samsung S21, and it's just because,
Yeah.
the features, Apple Pay and stuff like that here in the US. But honestly,
I gonna I message your girl.
yeah, iMessages and stuff like that.
Yeah, you gotta. The way me and my wife met, she would send me a lot of iMessage games, and I would have to play them. And then I got really good at them, and I started beating her. And we couldn't have gotten married without it. It's important. Unfortunately, they've tied this to the process.
Yeah, it's all scripted. But at the same time, when I was, obviously I used an iPhone 4 back in the day when I was in Lahore. And I remember my dad gifted it
Hmm.
to me. It was really
That's when they
special.
were cool.
It was really special that time when iPhone 4 came,
Yeah.
one of those best phones ever.
Was it the one with the nice like the metal, right?
Yeah, it was the
It
metallic.
was like a square.
It's like a metal.
Yeah, that bro, that's the future.
That was like the best-selling iPhone. I don't know, in my opinion. It was like the groundbreaking reality to iPhone when the iPhone 4 came from the 3G. I remember
Yeah,
that time.
yeah.
Um,
And when they added the fingerprint scanner, oh man, it was
Oh,
over. It was over.
oh my God. Yeah, and Siri also launched in 4S. So that was the time I remember. But yeah,
Man,
I remember when the what was I mentioning is that iPhone is kind of like when I came back to the Apple ecosystem, they want you to buy the Mac, they want you to get the watch, they want you to get everything. And then what other thing I
still call
see is
that.
that they want the thing is like it's closed software. Whereas when I was in Android, it's like open source kind of. And it's not open source, but it kind of feels very flexible. You have a developer option setting where you can actually just freaking change the whole operating system of the Android, get a whole,
Yeah,
OS operating system or a launcher, right? And just change the whole feel of the phone. Whereas in iPhone, it's kind of locked. You can't do that much.
Mhm.
And you can also check your refresh rates on the phone. You could just
Mhm.
change up the settings. On a
Yeah,
Samsung, you say, okay, there's a 60 frames per second. These are my nerd statistics. I can see what's happening on the phone, but
yeah.
that's not
Dude, you can
common on.
install YouTube Bands.
Yeah, you cannot block YouTube ads.
No, you can install YouTube VAS. You can what's it called? There's like so much more you can do on Android. It's just so it's cracked open. However, I wanted to ask you your opinion. Open source. I always go back and forth. I'm like open source makes things people say it makes things safer, right? Because then you can have all these eyes on the code. But I'm always like, well, if there's like a leak, right, or something. For example, like I don't remember, but like in 2021, Log4j had like a vulnerability
Okay.
that like you execute remote code just by forcing a log, which is really, really, really bad.
Yeah.
Um, and if you're open source, it's really easy to see where that's happening. For example. But if you're closed source, it's like, well, are they even using it? I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah. I mean, what do you think? Open source versus closed source? People have different opinions. I kind of tend to, whenever I use open source software like VLC Media Player, they're really
Mhm.
good. Linux,
Oh yeah,
they're really good. And
Jellyfin.
there's so much community with it, support with it. Um,
Yeah, people are nicer. Whenever I see people contributing to open source software and they're large contributors, I'm like, man, I wish I was that selfless.
yeah.
Because there's for example, there's open source emulator called Shad PS4. You can play Bloodborne on PC now. I don't know if you're a big fan of like the Souls-like games, but you can play Bloodborne on PC totally. It's crazy, right? And it's
Okay.
these open source developers, and I contributed to that too a little bit, because
Amazing.
it's so nice. I love the contribution aspect of it. The safety always scared me a bit, but I love the contribution aspect of open source.
It kind of feels like a gamer in a sense that you're open sourcing,
Yeah.
but it feels like a gaming community. I don't know why.
It is always a gaming community. 100% everybody's open source. I feel like they love games.
They like games because look, their GitHub profiles have like Mario or some Sonic or something like that, and they're all
Yeah, they,
contributing. Man, I
they got
just
like that one picture of Luffy, with the hat.
yeah, and that guy had like 100 contributions in the last month or something.
Yeah, exactly. And he's not even like he doesn't he's not employed or something, right? He's like he can barely crack like 50K a year, and he's like here doing crazy work.
And then the sad part is that he's the one who has the most skills, and he's the one who doesn't have the job.
That's true, but I gotta say, man, some people in our industry assholes. Like I think some people they're just so good. If they're hard to work with, some people can genuinely be very hard to work with. Some people do work better alone, and there
Yeah,
are definitely some developers that I've met that are very talented, very talented. I would never want to work with them. It's too much. I don't care about the company enough. I would rather the company have worse software than work with that guy. I'm fine with the shitty software.
right, right, right. Um, so if you weren't a software engineer, what job would you be doing? I know you said you were doing chemical engineering, just to correct if
No, I was doing electrical,
electrical,
but
yeah.
I would not be electrical. I could never do it.
Okay.
I think if I was a software engineer, I always want to be a teacher. Um, I love teaching, and I mentor a lot of people. I work in my private life usually. I think I would try and I'll probably become a lawyer.
Awesome.
I'd try to at least.
Oh, the last thing you said would cut off. What was the last thing?
I said I would try to at least become a lawyer.
Oh, okay, awesome. One myth about working in tech you wish people would stop believing?
One myth. I think a lot of people think it's really easy, and to be fair, depending on the company, that's true. That is definitely true. So I don't know if that's a myth.
Yeah.
Uh, that Um, oh, that there's no point in trying. I think I have a lot of friends that have said like, oh, it's there's no point in trying to get into software. It's not gonna give any fruit, etc. I just don't think that's true.
Hmm.
I've looked at the data, and as far as I see the data, yes, tech hiring is worse. So tech hiring was up 200% during COVID, and right now it's down. Like it's down from even 2019, 2020. So it's like historically low the last 10 years, but it's still pretty high if you think about it.
Still
Compared to
high.
other industries.
The funny thing is, like every time a person is graduating, that's the time when people will say, "Oh, bro, the job market is so bad, no one's getting any
Oh
jobs."
my God, why gotta be hated, man? Yeah.
It kind of was like when I was graduating. I was hearing everywhere, the job market is absolutely horrendous. You're not gonna get a job, and this things are gonna
Oh
happen.
man.
And today, these years as well, I just met like a junior, and they're saying, "I heard about the job market. It's really bad for engineers." But what do you think about that? Because I believe when you graduated, were you also told the same stuff?
Mhm. Me? No, no. I had Amazon before I graduated. So me, I'm very blessed. I'm very lucky. I graduated COVID year. So yes, actually, so yes, technically I was told that, but I already had a job, so it wasn't too bad for me. But a lot of my friends they had their offers rescinded in 2020 when COVID hit. So it was a little bit rough for a bit, but then we hit like the stock market. We hit like the job market lottery where 2021, 2022, it was just crazy. They were hiring like crazy. So yeah, I am blessed that I didn't encounter as much hardship. It's definitely harder for sure, but it's not only is it not impossible, but it's realistic to get a job. If we look at the statistics of the amount of people graduating from college and getting a job, it's not bad right now, to my knowledge. It's harder for sure, and definitely the voices that are struggling are louder because they're suffering and they need help, and we should help them. But it's not devastating. I don't think saying the job market is horrible is helping the engineers. I think it might help somebody who's starting college potentially, like, hey, you should think about this. But if you have the degree,
Yeah.
that's irrelevant here. You need to get a job. It doesn't really matter anymore.
Yep. Absolutely. Um, if you could give one piece of advice to your younger self starting out in tech, what would it be? And what you would give the advice to this other person as well?
Starting on tech for myself, um, I will say that I started out in tech in college, I would say, and I would tell myself to chill out. It's gonna be okay. It was really, really stressful. It was really scary, and I would recommend my younger self to get an ADHD diagnosis or something. Also, hang out with smarter friends. 100%. If you want to be smarter, hang out with smart people. Without a doubt, the most useful thing you can do. They will rise you up. They will bring you up.
Uh,
Um, that would be my advice. Honestly, that would be my advice to people who are struggling too, because I was bad at academics, especially in tech. And what helped me was having a strong group of friends that were smarter than me. And always surround yourself by people that are smarter than yourself and lower your ego as low as you can. Tell people you don't know tell people you don't know something. Be very, very humble.
I love that. Yeah, I remember I also had that same approach where I kind of started hanging out with the kids that were nerds in the class. Obviously those ones
Yeah,
aren't those ones that are most popular and the ones that are not that praised as well because they're always the ones coming in time on classes, asking the most questions, are kind of like the
losers.
losers in the class, yeah, and no one likes them. And so I was a part of them, and I kind of was, and I'm still considered one of them because if they look at me, they're gonna remember, oh yeah, there was a kid named Valid, and there was a kid named Noman, and then there was a kid named Ars. They're all together at that one group. But that one group really helped me because they, at their free time, were talking about issues and bugs and how to be better in coding and stuff like that, and it really helped me.
Exactly, dude. It's like osmosis, You got to stay violent so you can absorb it. And then you play your game. You play your games and listen to them, in my opinion. I just think that if you're around people who are successful and smart, obviously try and contribute too. Don't be, try and do what you can. But it's important to be humble. And, people are generally willing to help from my experience, as long as you are humble about it. So I think you find that group of friends, even if you're not smart, some people aren't smart. I'm not smart. You go to them and you try to become smart. And eventually you will probably.
And be ground to earth and say like I'm really dumb, right? I don't know this. I make mistakes every
Yeah.
single day. Don't just say like I know
Yeah.
everything. Be very, very
Yeah, no,
open to
100%.
this, and yeah, and people are like helpful. They're just gonna help you out. Like
They really are, yeah.
how easy these online communities just post a question on Stack Overflow, a random guy from some Malaysia or would respond back to you.
Yeah. They're not paid for this. It's not even a part of their job. They're doing it because they like it. Also, they like to be right. I think a lot of software engineers, they like to be right. I like being right. If I
Yeah.
see, if you want to get an answer out of me, don't ask me a question. Tell me, I think I saw this advice somewhere. Don't tell me a question. Tell me a wrong fact. I'll correct you, but I won't give you the
And I saw that trick because there was a video of a person, they said how to get answers to a question really quickly. Just say something really wrong about the answer and say,
Yes.
and then the people, you'll get a swarm of answers from people that are saying, no,
Yeah.
you're wrong. And
And then continue to do it to get better answers.
yeah, absolutely. That's another method. Okay, so where can people find you online or follow your work if they have any other questions or something like that?
My LinkedIn, Karim Sabar.
Awesome. Awesome.
That'll be pretty obvious.
Well, that wraps up. Thanks everyone for tuning in. It was super exciting for today's episode with a very special guest. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it, and we look
Thank you,
forward
Harris. Appreciate it.
look forward to meeting in person, and hopefully having some contributions.
For sure, dude. Let's get some chai.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
All right. Yeah, I basically turned off that